שלום לימור.
שלום שי.
השבוע סערה הקהילה הישראלית יהודית בוונקובר על רקע ההחלטה של פסטיבל פוש, פסטיבל אומנויות הבמה בוונקובר, שביטל הצגת יחיד. הם גם זכו לביקורות שליליות מהעיתונות. סיג'ה וגם הפדרציה שלחו מכתבים במחאה על הצנזורה של חופש הביטוי.
נכון, The Runner זה מונולוג של מתנדב מארגון זק"א, זיהוי קורבנות אסון, והדילמה האם להציל אישה פלסטינית או חייל ישראלי. האומן אגב הוא כריסטופר מוריס, קנדי שאין לו קשר לקהילה הישראלית.
לפני שפסטיבל פוש נדרש לעניין, ההצגה בוטלה בתיאטרון בלפרי בוויקטוריה, והייתה תקווה גדולה דווקא בגלל שפסטיבל פוש עמד בלחצים והחליט שההצגה תישאר. אבל אז באה התפנית בעלילה, והצגת היחיד הוסרה מהתוכנית, ולמעשה הותירה את הבמה לאומן ממוצא פלסטיני, בסל זרה, שמספר על הטראומה של משפחתו שגורשה מהכפר טנטורה בנכבה ב-1948.
בפודקאסט באתר הפסטיבל מספר מוריס האומן שהוא התוודע למתנדבי זק"א כשהיה תלמיד בתיכון, ושמע בחדשות על אירוע הפיגוע בירושלים, ושם הוא הבין איך יש מתנדבים שממש אוספים חלקי גופות אחרי הפיגוע, וזה נשאר איתו בזיכרון שנים, עד שיום אחד הוא החליט לבקר בישראל וגם בשטחי הרשות הפלסטינית, והוא מסביר איך כאומן הוא מחפש את הדילמה האישית במקצוע.
ובואי נשמע קטע מהשיחה איתו.
Talk to these men, they tell me these extraordinary stories, like unbelievable, crazy situations that they found themselves in, like out of this world. And I'd hear it, but I'd go, that might be good for 8 minutes on stage, but then what? Like, it doesn't do anything. It doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't serve their human dilemma.
לימור, את ראיינת את יושב ראש הפסטיבל, גבריאל מרטין. בואי נשמע איך היא מסבירה את ההחלטה.
You're the director of programming for the Push Festival, and I thank you very much for your time because I know it's super busy. You just launched the festival and it just started. How is it going?
Yeah, hi. Thanks for having me and your interest in chatting. Yeah, we opened last night with the show Lorenzo, and it was wonderful. This is such a good, it's such a feel-good show, even though it's about care, and it also talks about death. The artist is just masterful, and has a background as a comedian, so I was able to treat those subject matters with levity, as well as the appropriate opportunity for reflection. So it was a great kickoff to the festival.
Perfect. Thank you. Good to hear. And so a few weeks ago, you were very courageous with the decision to run the runners, despite the Balfour Theatre in Victoria. They decided to remove it from their program, and then you changed your mind. So I want to hear how did it happen? What happened?
Sure. Yeah. So we had actually decided to program this work, officially a year before, but we had been in conversations with the artist Christopher Morris, who is a Canadian. He's the author and performer of The Runner. He's not Jewish. I think it's important to say that. And he doesn't, have direct ties to any of the countries in the region, Israel, Palestine. And, we originally programmed this piece because we thought it fit into this kind of wider festival ecology, which offers us opportunities to have nuanced and complex conversations, and which kind of turn the political into the personal, the intimate, the domestic, and ultimately give us an opportunity to reflect on our shared humanity and, hopefully support empathy. And we've definitely followed closely both the petition to cancel the show in Victoria at the Belfry, as well as the petition to keep it there. And really, we were just holding on to our value of honoring our relationships, and in this case, the relationships with the artists. So it was important for us to move forward at that time, honoring that relationship with Christopher. And yes, there was, quite a bit of critique. There was some, very thoughtful critique from people who'd read the play. And then there was also misconceptions by people who hadn't read the play. And then there's also I think that, and this is kind of the bigger picture, the play has been conflated into something bigger than what it is, both from people who wanted it to be presented and people who have not wanted it to be presented. And I think that right now there's so much trauma based on, years of conflict and then, recent events in both Israel and Gaza. And then, when people have trauma, thinking becomes rigid. And so we were definitely experiencing that, experiencing kind of people looking at our decision in a binary kind of way. But ultimately, it was our conversation with the artist Basil Zar, who's the Palestinian artist behind the work Dear Layla. Basil, read the script of The Runner and felt that it was anti-Palestinian. Ultimately, his objection was not about the fact that it was set in Israel or had Israeli characters, but that the lack of development of Palestinian characters played into colonial tropes that were harmful. And, multiple truths can coexist, and we heard him. And ultimately, he didn't want to have his work presented alongside The Runner, and our relationship with him was very important. Our relationship with Christopher is also important, but Christopher, was gracious and understood the situation, and also that another value of ours is equity, and at this time, there's a real lack of representation of Palestinian voices in Canadian theatre, and it's very important to underline that The Runner, it's not a play by a Jewish artist, it's not a play by an Israeli artist, it's a play by a white Canadian man, and it's a great work. But in terms of, what is a rare opportunity, it's a rare opportunity to be able to offer a platform for a Palestinian voice right now. And so collectively, the three of us decided to go forward with Dear Layla and not The Runner, and we released a statement with ourselves, Basil Zara and Christopher Morris, which reflected this, yeah.
What struck me is that Bassel, the Palestinian artist, which I have fully respect of his personal trauma, obviously, and you said that you want to give the personal aspect of each side, but he said specifically that there are no two sides here, that it's a decades-long effort by Israel to control and erase our people. While many voices are welcome, he said that the artists should have some kind of responsibility to reflect the reality that there is an occupier and occupied. There is a war. Nobody denies that, but there are two sides to this war, and you choose one side deliberately because you said we choose to show the Palestinian trauma right now.
You asked me if I agree with Basil's statement. Well, I'm not an expert in the conflict, and I don't have lived experience that ties me to the conflict. But what we had here is we had one artist who had no lived experience related to the conflict or the region. And we had one artist who did, and for whom it was very personal. And so what this is about is honoring the voices of the artists that we've invited to come to the festival. They are, the experts on both the form and the content that they've brought to the festival. But really, I think it's important to state that, last year actually, one of our largest recent commissions went to Itai Erdal, who's an Israeli-Canadian-based artist who presented the work Soldiers of Tomorrow, which was autobiographical about his own experience in the IDF. And that is a project that we continue to support, trying to support the touring of it. And that is definitely the perspective of an Israeli voice.
To me, it looks like to many people in the Israeli community or the Jewish community, it looks like, okay, bully wins. Basil came and said, I'm not going to run my program next to The Runner. Christopher has said, I don't want to be part of any controversial things. I want to step away, which I understand him. But nobody actually consulted the other side.
We are an organization that services communities, and those communities have very different opinions. So there are communities who are saying this work is really, really important for us right now. And there was also communities who are saying this work is very, very detrimental to us right now. So there has to be some other factors that go into a decision.
Yeah, but you didn't decide to remove both of them because the personal trauma of Basil is a controversial issue for the Israeli community.
נראה שממש חשוב לה לציין שהאמן שהיצירה שלו הוסרה מהתוכנית הוא לא יהודי ולא ישראלי. והעובדה ששני האומנים הסכימו ביניהם היא מספיקה, כי לפסטיבל הכי חשובה מערכת היחסים בין האומנים.
וכאן נכנסות שכבות של מידע שאין מה לעשות, החלטה כזאת היא דיכוטומית של אומן פלסטינית מול גבר קנדי לבן, זה לא רק העניין. זה מאוד מטריד את הפרו-פלסטינים, למשל העובדה שלוחמי החופש שלהם, הטרוריסטים חמאס, ערפו ראשים ואנסו נשים, ובלשון המעטה, כן? והם מנסים עכשיו למחוק בכל דרך את האלימות המינית ואת רצח הילדים שנעשה ב7 באוקטובר, וזקה הוא ארגון שעומד בדרך שלהם, הוא ממש תוקע להם מקלות בגלגלים, בגלל שאנשי זקה הם אלה שהיו עדים ראשונים לכל הסיפור הזה, והם אלה שמספרים על מצב הגופות שנמצאו ב7 באוקטובר, והפסטיבל קיבל כאן עצומה שדורשת להסיר את ההצגה על זקה, כי לשון המכתב, ארגון זקה אחראי להאשמות שקריות לפיהן לוחמי חמאס, כן, לשון המכתב, אנסו נשים ורצחו ילדים. אז הם מנסים ממש למחוק בכל דרך, והפלא ופלא הצליחו.
ברור שקריות. טוב, בואי נשמע את יושבת הפסטיבל בעניין הזה.
The pro-Palestinian activist wrote to you that Zaka, which is again, it's an NGO organization, it's a rescue and recovery organization, and they think that its center role of propaganding post-October 7, that actually falsify claims on beheading Israeli children and raping and sexual violence by Palestinian fighters, their word, we call them Hamas terrorists. In Canada, it's defined as Hamas terrorists. So to them, it's a victory, and they said, okay, we managed.
We did not decide to cancel the runner because of that letter that you just quoted from. I do not agree with what you just quoted from that letter. Really, it was about managing our relationships with artists and looking at the voices in the festival. So I do want to say that, yes, we chose to keep the voice of the Palestinian artist in this work and not the voice of the white Canadian non-Jewish artist, Christopher Morris, though it did speak to an Israeli, this fictional work was set in Israel.
היא לא מסכימה עם המכתב, אבל בכל זאת ההצגה ירדה. וגם גילינו שיש אומנית ישראלית בפסטיבל. נכון להקלטת שורות אלה. בואי נשמע.
We are a festival that really honors and values intercultural dialogue and exchange. We have an Israeli artist in the festival, Inbal Ben Haim, whose work Pli is being presented at the Playhouse. This is the largest work we have in the whole festival. It's at the largest venue. She's the lead artist on the project. So the Israeli artist in our festival this year actually is at the biggest, most prestigious venue we have.
That's great to hear.
And also we have Jewish artists in the festival this year as well, presenting their own work.
Their work has anything to do with a conflict?
It does not. No.
It does not. Okay, great. Because that's, to me, really severe, that what you're saying. I didn't know about that. But then you're telling me that you care about the actual personal artist. So you do have Israelis and Jewish as long as they don't deal with a conflict. But you did choose a specific side to play the Palestinian, which you can say that you choose.
Well, no, if you listen to what I said that
to deal with the trauma, but not the Israeli side of the trauma, just the Palestinian side of the trauma.
No, actually, we invested tens of thousands of dollars into commissioning the work of Itai Irdal last year for his work Soldiers of Tomorrow, which is based on his experience of being an IDF soldier.
רק להזכיר שהאומן הישראלי שהשתתף בפסטיבל בשנה שעברה, הוא אמנם איתי אלרד, הוא אמנם ישראלי, אבל העבודה שלו, חיילים של מחר נקראת, עוסקת ברשמים אישיים שלו מתקופת הצבא כשהוא שרת בצה"ל, ואלה הרשמים שהובילו לעזיבתו את ישראל, ואת העבודה הזאת הפסטיבל מקדם לדבריהם. זה בהחלט מתיישב עם העובדה לפסטיבל פוש חשובים היחסים שלו עם האומנים באופן אישי, בעיקר אם הם מייצגים צעד מאוד ספציפי.
וגם נזכיר שפסטיבל פוש משתף פעולה עם פסטיבל חוצפה, והנה המלצה אישית מהנהלה.
Festival is running, so give us 2 recommendations for this week.
Absolutely. Well, I'll start with Pli, which is the project I mentioned. The lead artist on this project is Inbal Ben Haim. She is the Israeli artist. The company is a French company called Les Nouvelles Subsistances. And in this project, really, it's a kind of mixing of aerial acrobatics and paper. So it's visually stunning, and the aerial acrobatics exist within a paper sculpture, which is continuing to evolve throughout the piece. So it's very transformative. It's a transformative set, and it really looks at risk and fragility and how fragile our lives are in balance with the environment that we are in. And that is a very exciting work that is co-presented with Chutzpah Festival.
Yes.
And that is at the Playhouse. And the other work I'll talk about is Back-to-Back Theaters, The Shadow Whose Prey the Hunter Becomes. This is an Australian company. And this work is really, it's a piece of theater that is kind of speculating on the future, on how AI will treat all humans in the future based on how neurotypical people can treat people who are neurodiverse. And this is a company that's been to the festival several times before. And so we're really excited to have this company back. I would say that those are two highlights.
Sounds great. Thank you so much, Gabriel Martin.
Thank you.
The director of programming at the Push Festival.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you for your questions.
ההצגה הזאת לא נכתבה בריק.
כן, הכל תלוי איכשהו בקונטקסט, כמובן. תודה שי. לייק, סאבסקרייב, שייר.
ביי לימור.
ביי.